cable news show for 7 years and counting. The O'Reilly Factor.
Thanks for staying with us. And Bill O'Reilly in a personal story segment tonight. As we mentioned, 75 million dogs are currently owned as pets in the USA, and they are living in 45 million American households. That according to the National Pet Owners Survey. Now there are some breakthroughs in how people communicate with dogs. Joining us here in the studio, Lisa Peterson, a dog breeder who writes a column entitled Lisa's Living with Dogs. And from Los Angeles, Dina Zaphiris, the co-host of Animal Planet's PETFINDER program. I had a dog growing up, Dina, Barney, the German Shepherd, and Barney's job was to attack anybody I wanted him to attack, and he did it very well. But I didn't have a lot of communication with Barney other than just giving him food I didn't want to eat when my mother and father weren't looking. It was a pretty easy deal. Barney slept there, we walked Barney, we fed Barney, and Barney was happy. Now, dog stuff in the United States is a $43 billion industry. $43 billion, up from $17 billion in 1994. So you can see that it's an enormous, Americans are in love with their dogs. What is the biggest breakthrough in the communication between humans and dogs that you've seen in the last few years?
I think what you said, Bill, is key, and it's the word communication itself. People are interested now in dogs' body language, in what their dog is saying to them. 50 years ago, you saw a more militant approach to dog training. You saw people yanking choke chains, yelling at their dogs, not really understanding body language and behavior. Today, fortunately, the biggest breakthrough is that training has gone to a more positive approach to dog training. It's about communicating with your pet positively,
stop, because you talk in general. And number one, I have a human body language segment. Maybe I should get a dog body language segment. But when you say you communicate with a dog, dogs don't understand English, right?
That's right.
They understand voice. They understand voice. They understand tone of voice, right?
That's right. They absolutely do.
How do you get through to the dog, and how do you make the dog be the best dog he or she can be?
Well, I'm going to explain something to you right now called operant conditioning, and it's part of behavioral psychology. And what we can actually do is start marking a behavior that's desired with a reward and a sound, right? So you can actually wait for your dog to sit, mark it with a certain noise or hand signal or word, and then follow it with a reward. Then in the future, you're going to see more of that behavior persist.
So you have to wait for the dog to sit. You don't tell the dog to sit. You wait for the dog to sit.
That's one way. So that's called offering.
You don't want to intrude on the dog's self-esteem. You want the dog to make the decision to sit, and then you reinforce that was a good decision.
That's one way of training.
All right,
you can
now
also
I'm going to stop you because I want to get into Lisa, but I'm going to come back.
Sure. Sure.
But I like this. Okay, now Lisa, what's the biggest breakthrough you've seen in humans communicating with dogs?
I'm going to have to agree with Dina 100%. For me personally, as a young child, I used the more correction-based training techniques for my dog.
So you whacked the dog when he did something bad?
You know, it's the traditional roll up the newspaper, hit him if he's bad, that kind of thing, or pop the choke collar. But now it's positive reinforcement. I mean, I train my show dogs. I use food motivation. I look for good behaviors with them. I reward them for good behavior.
Does that always work? What if you have some wise guy dogs?
Well, I have Norwegian Elkhounds, which can be very independent thinkers. So I motivate them with food, and sometimes.
Does it always work? Does food always work?
Absolutely, food works. They love cheese. They love liver. It works.
It sounds so simple, though. It can't be that simple, can it?
It is that simple.
Really?
Yeah, the results.
So any dog that you get, all you have to do is bribe the dog with food, the dog's going to be the perfect dog?
Well, dogs are individuals, and you have to find out what does motivate them. Is it food? Is it a toy? Is it praise? And once you find that key, then you can get the results you're looking for.
Okay. Now, Dina, there are a lot of different ways to get dogs, and I kind of applaud people who go into the animal shelters and rescue dogs and take them home and give them a nice, loving place so they don't have to be euthanized and destroyed. But then you're taking a chance because the dog could be the victim of bad behavior by humans before that. Can you turn that dog around? Is that an easy thing to do?
It's sometimes easy and it's sometimes not. The important thing to do is go to the shelter with somebody who knows, who's trained in dog body language. But dogs are giving you signals. Through the bars, you can tell a lot about the personality of a dog, but there's a lot you can't tell.
All right, give me one hint. Dog body language. Okay, now look, if I walk in, I'm not going to know what the dog's saying. All right, so give me one hint that the dog doesn't like me. All right, besides saying I watch CNN.
Absolutely.
I'm looking through the bars at the little dog, and the dog's looking up, and the dog does what, and that signals Go ahead.
So some things you want to look for are ear position. If the ears are forward and the dog looks curious, which means its eyes are looking right at you, it's making eye contact and the ears are perched forward, that's showing interest. It's showing eye contact and communication. The dog is, in other words, asking you, hey, maybe come pet me, come sniff me. If the dog's tail is very stiff and it's held straight up in the air, this may be a sign of fear or aggression. Knowing what the ears are doing, if the ears are pinned back and the dog's wagging his tail, this can be a sign of friendliness. If the ears are pinned back and the dog's growling, obviously this dog could be not socialized properly. There's a lot of different signs.
And how hard is it to turn around a dog that's not socialized properly?
It's harder to turn around the owner who has the dog.
No, but say the dog is on its own now. The dog is, you know, that kind of thing.
Okay. It depends on the breed. So certain breeds are more trainable. You have Labs, Retrievers, Border Collies, Australian Shepherds. These are highly trainable breeds, and it's easier to train their behavior and to change their behavior. Then you can have some breeds like Huskies or Shiba Inus or Chows. They can be a little bit harder because they're not as trainable in general.
Well, what
so
about
you're looking at anywhere from 8 weeks to a year of reconditioning to change a dog's behavior, depending on what kind of behavior the dog's.
Right, you got to have a lot of patience and you got to really be committed. That's important. Now, Lisa, what about the pit bull thing? You know, these dogs have been bred for thousands of years to kill, and you know, I don't want any part of that. Am I wrong?
Absolutely. The American Kennel Club recognizes 4 what you would call bully breeds: the American Staffordshire Terrier, the Staffordshire Bull Terrier, and the Bull Terrier and Mini Bull Terrier. And hundreds of years ago in England, these dogs were used for bull baiting and dog fights. But once they were outlawed in England, the owners of these dogs wanted to save them, and they were good companions at the time for them. So they took generations and they bred out the temperament of the fighting temperament of these dogs. Today, these dogs make great pets.
Pit bulls make good pets?
Absolutely.
You would get a pit bull?
I would get.
I'd be afraid.
Any one of these breeds.
Not afraid for myself, but around kids and things like that.
Well, you have to look at the dog. I mean, the dog is like a blank slate as a puppy, and it's really up to the owner to be responsible to train it,
so you believe
socialize
that
it.
Every dog as a puppy can be trained into a good citizen?
Absolutely.
Every one?
Absolutely.
There are no bad seeds?
There are no bad dogs.
Because there are no bad dogs. You really believe that?
I really believe that.
Because,
I really do.
Dina, there are bad people. You know, it isn't, no, there are people who are just born evil, rotten, and they have nice parents, and they just rotten. But you don't believe dogs are like that?
I have to side with Lisa. I think you shape the dog and you create the dog that you want. And I believe there are no bad dogs. There are dogs that are going to be challenging and more challenging than other dogs.
But no bad dogs. But you do believe there are bad people, right?
They're bad owners.
Well, they're people. All right, ladies.
Bad.
One last question for you, Lisa, real quick. Why the explosion of dogs in the United States? Why the huge interest? Why?
We all love that canine-human bond. I mean, the unconditional love that dogs give us. We want the companionship. And actually, today, 63% of people have pets rather than have children in American households.
Okay, so kids are much more of a hassle. And there you go. All right.